Ladies and gentlemen, hello, hello, and welcome back from New York City and WCS America. Congrats to Stardust for winning DreamHack. And if y'all are joining us from DreamHack, hope you're having a good time.
I picked them to win the finals.
Did you?
I mean, not
from the beginning. So Nick is saying on Friday before the tournament even started, he sees the player list, he sees Stardust, he's like, all right, Stardust wins.
Once Life was knocked out outside the bracket,
yeah,
then I picked them.
No faith in Show.
I didn't think Show would beat Stardust, man. Stardust is such a good Korean Protoss.
Yeah. It's good.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, Stardust really good. Pretty awesome name, Stardust. Like, let's be honest, he gets all the ladies.
He does, and the cool thing about him is he has that Kessa background.
Yeah.
So his mechanics are so good, and that's one of the things people don't realize is that players that doesn't say mechanics, if they stick to just timing builds, they're almost unstoppable. Because, or if it goes to late game, then they focus on multitasking.
Right.
As long as it's not about one big engagement, as long as it's either multitasking or perfecting macro for time attack, those guys are just almost impossible to beat without that same training background.
Yeah, great story there out of DreamHack. Congrats to Stardust. Also, really cool seeing him try to. His English is actually really good.
Yeah, it was.
That like really surprised me. Like in control, ask a question and fluent English flies out of Stardust. Really cool to see. But guys, coming up next, WCS America, we got the winners match between Oz and Sage. The winner of this best of 3 will advance to Premier League Season 2 to join the existing 19. No, 3 more than that. 22. The 22 players already qualified. Is that right? Do the math. Verify.
Yes. Yes.
Sick.
Yes, because we need 10 more. This week there'll be 10 more players who qualify.
Oh, we should explain that a little bit.
Yeah,
because
so
8 come from the round of 8 Premier from Season 1.
The top 8 from Season 1, basically.
Yeah. And then 8 come from the 8 that qualified through the bracket stage of Challenger League.
And that was about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah.
And then we had 6 qualify last week because we had 3 groups over Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Top 2 from each group. Move on. That comes out to 22. Get out calculators and verify it if you want, but I promise it's true. Nick is my calculator.
Indeed.
When I have a math problem, I just shout it across the room at home instead of pulling out a calculator. Nick, what's the answer to this? All right. So Oz versus Sage. We're currently in the lobby. Belshire Vestige. I'm asking if players are ready. But I think this might have been expected. Though Sen. Oh gosh, that was a good best of 3.
It was. You know, I actually I thought it might be Oz first. I thought Sen might win this group.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like in PvP, Oz is really struggled. And this is a situation where if he was up against Sen, then I feel like he'd almost have to beat Sen because he does not want to fight Sage in the final match. But up against Sage, in a way, even though his PvP is worse,
right?
It's not quite as bad because if he can win this, if he loses this, he still has that final chance against most likely Sen, unless Phoenix can get his inner together, and then have to beat Sen as well.
Right.
But most likely the final match will be Sen versus the loser of this. And that's a matchup where Oz, he loves PvZ, and he can still have a good shot via that route as well.
All right, guys, welcome back to the terrain and the map that is Belshire Vestige in our game number 1 of this best of 3 of the winners match. In the top left-hand location, I present to you your Blue Protoss player representing Team Root Gaming, trying to join his teammates, Theognis, Puck, and Vibe, who are currently in Premier. He is Sage. His opponent in the bottom right-hand location of Belshire Vestige, the Evil Geniuses Protoss player, trying to overcome his struggles in PvP as of late to get his spot into the Premier League of WCS America Season 2. I present to you, Oz.
I just thought about that for a second as I realized that we may not see Sen make it through the Challenger League.
Make it through, into Premier?
Yeah.
It could happen.
Like, Sen is a guy, he made 4th in the global finals of WCS last year.
Yeah.
He's won like every event from Taiwan. He's played with the best in Korea, and he's prevailed almost as often as he's lost. I mean, this is a guy he's a match for the guys who play in the Challenger League in WCS Korea. And for him not to make it through the Challenger League in WCS America back into the Premier League Season 2 would just be absolutely huge. I mean, this is really the group of death when you think about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree.
This group is so tough.
You know, for Sen to have to go up against Sage in the first match, and you know that first game, how deflating would that be? You know, he played so well throughout, and then all of a sudden, just one thing goes wrong, right? He loses all those queens and engaging with half his army. It's potentially heartbreaking. So, but he's not out of it. It's important to know he's not out of it. Sen is waiting down below in the losers match. We'll have to see if Phoenix again can come back with good internet, or Sen will go to the final match of the day to play the loser of this game. But he's not out of it just yet. But here we are, PvP best of 3, game 1.
Oz is really focusing on gas. He got 2 gases before Sidecar, which is fairly standard, but he also immediately put 3 probes on each gas the instant they finished, which is fairly unusual because it's really going to crimp your mineral economy quite early. When we see Sage, well, he also got the 2 gas before Sidecar. He only had 2 on each for quite a long time. Now he has 3 on one and 2 on the other, and we can see that's why he's got 100 less gas in the bank, but 100 more minerals. And so their builds are already different in the opening. One player with more minerals, one player with more gas. And it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the first 5-6 minutes of the game. Beyond that, it'll probably balance out. But first 5-6 minutes, the tech speed, the unit count, the expansion speed could all be greatly affected by a small deviation of just how many probes to put on gas.
Now, I wonder if Sage kind of did it for that, because I was watching his probe as he walked in. He didn't necessarily click on the gases, but he did obviously identify that there are 3 in each. Is that going to be enough to know, okay, my opponent is really prioritizing the gas in this game?
It is. And if they're going that gas heavy, the first thing you check how many pylons are in the base, because you're worried about something like a proxy Stargate or something.
Sure.
But if you see enough pylons, you're not as worried about that. Next thing, thinking of, okay, that heavy gas, it could be straight to blink, it could be straight to DTs, and it basically means that you can't trust the first couple units you see. If they don't have a lot of gas early and you see them open with like 2 Stalkers and a Sentry, they're like, okay, there's no way they have a whole lot of extra gas and tech and safety fast. But if you know they have all that gas early on, you basically can't afford to trust the build based on their initial couple units.
So we see a Dark Shrine has been the choice for Oz. Sage sending a Stalker across the right-hand side, spots his probe.
Oh, that's big. That's
And
so important that he killed the probe. The pylon had to be canceled as well.
Wow. So the most important part of, okay, sending another probe out, very logical. The most important part when you're going for a DT opening is you hit as fast as humanly possible with the Dark Templars. That means, as close as possible you get a pylon to your opponent's main, it's going to be great, right? Ideally, your pylon is in their mineral line, and you make it, and you use some spray paint and try to disguise it to make it look like your opponent's.
Change pylon.
Exactly. That's actually happened to me. There's like a pylon on my base that was mine, and then like an enemy DT comes out of nowhere. I'm like, what the heck? Of course, I go back and watch the replay and facepalm, but...
Sage caught the first pylon, of course. Yes. Like you mentioned, Oz going DT rush, has to get the pylon up to send a second probe. He's going to get at the second pylon. But Sage, he's got this Observer already being chrono boosted, so he's not going to take too much damage to this. And now, Oz has a couple options. Okay, it looks like he's just going to expand behind us. And so he's going to be in a situation where he's going to be a little bit behind economically, because his expansion is later, but he has the constant threat of DTs. So that's always, it's nice to have that tech unlocked throughout the game.
Server pops out. Maybe a bit of overkill.
Yeah.
For one DT, 2 force fields and photon overcharge.
I like the force fields because it would have gotten away without those. But the photon overcharge, is actually, that could be super valuable. If Oz was going for, a 4-gate follow-up, you would really want that to defend against a charge at Archon time. And of course, Sage is still a little bit in the dark about exactly how Oz is following up the DTs. Which is why he's chrono boosting now at the Immortal, and now he's going to get a second Observer so he can send his first one out to get that very important Sky information.
Yeah, we got that natural expansion being placed down for Oz. And no Hussein Phoenix is being sent out just yet. I don't think for either player, which is mildly interesting.
Well,
again,
Oz knows what Sage is up to, more or less.
Right, but like more from Sage's point of view, of course, using those force fields earlier, and then you don't necessarily know exactly what's coming next, so you want to be a little bit cautious. Keep the energy on those sentries, and not necessarily send that out. But I don't think he's spotted his opponent's natural expansion yet. But at this point, he can probably kind of guess because he's not being attacked.
Yeah, this one, yeah, exactly. If it was a Tempo 1 base plate attack, would have hit already.
Yep.
Or else just, Sage just defended without a problem. So he went ahead and cleaned up those pylons, and now, like you mentioned, Oz is sending out the hallucination scout. He wants to know, okay, I know my opponent expanded and went Robo, but how is he following this up? Is he doing something crazy like double Stargate? Is he going straight to Colossi? Is he going to get upgrades, Blink? Is he going for is he adding in 2 or 3 gateways and trying to do some Immortal gateway push? These are all very important things to know, because if your opponent is coming to attack, you know, okay, to just defend and we'll be ahead as long as they don't cut probes. If they're playing really greedy, you might need to accelerate your own pace or try to hit a time attack of your own.
Double Jose Phoenix Scout there from Sage. Spotting 2 Immortals, spotting the Forge, spotting everything that's going on. Now, both these players know what the other is doing. So, Oz identifying the blink play from his opponent. Meanwhile, Sage spotting the unit comp of his opponent. And now we're seeing some progression into additional tech. We've got a High Templar Archives coming down from Sage. And it looks like Oz is going to be prioritizing the upgrades at this point, as far as attack upgrades are concerned.
That's right. Both players are getting plenty of Immortals. One of the things is, if you don't have a couple Immortals out, Blink can be so scary. Because even if you have a lot of units, if you don't have the ability to just put a whole ton of damage out instantaneously, like with the Immortals and the fact that all the damage is front-loaded, right? It's 50 damage, boom, right off the bat, right when they hit. If you don't have that instant impact to the Stalkers, your opponent can just kind of pick at you forever with Blink Stalkers and not take losses. So in the early games in PvP, if your opponent might be getting Stalkers, it's always good to get a couple Mortals out just to be safe. Of course, you don't always want mass Immortals, but it never hurts to have a few in the composition.
Yeah, of course, once you get to those late game stages, it's all about those layers and how they deal with each other. Now, I'm going to be interested to see where they go from here as far as, okay, do we start seeing Colossi-based composition? Do we start seeing Void Ray-based compositions? Where the third's going to go down? And some of those answers, some of those questions are actually being answered now. We see a Nexus going down here from Sage in the top right at his third base, and Oz is going for a Robotics Bay, and I think Oz also got a Stargate.
He did. Unless he canceled.
He's investing a lot in his 2 base.
Did he cancel a Stargate?
I definitely saw one in production, Nick. Don't call me a liar, because that's what I saw.
I saw it too.
Okay.
But I don't...
So I think he canceled it. I think we can agree that he canceled it.
And one thing to Sage that was neat is he very quickly added 6 gates in the Templar Archives, right? But he hasn't really used them yet. But what he did is he built the 6 gates and he got a third base. And if his opponent went to pressure at third base, he could warp in a ton of units, he could warp in charge out Archons and everything he needs to defend that third base. But if his opponent's not going to attack the third, he can go ahead and tech up. He can get some cannons to defend against harassment. He can add in a Stargate, focus on upgrades. And he's actually sharking around here, looking to deny his opponent's third. Very importantly, though, he has that Mothership Core with his army, because his army it could potentially lose an engagement, right? So he's just trying to scout deny the third, be annoying. Doesn't necessarily want to get stuck in a pitched engagement right now.
So Oz, again, is really investing a lot into this 2-base play. He has 6 Immortals there in that composition. 1 Zealot going to be left at that third to make sure he knows exactly when that timing is. There's a hallucinated Phoenixes from Sage. So it looks like he's going to add on some Colossus, and this feels like this would be a very late third. So is he just going to invest everything into 2 bases here?
He might, but with 6 Immortals, you know, the composition is not going to be that scary to Sage, because, you know, Sage does have some Stalkers, but as long as they stay in the back and the Immortals can't approach him, what Sage needs to do is he either needs to get a ton of Zealots in the front of the tank, or he needs to go into airplane. It looks like he's actually getting going straight to Fleet Beacon, this double Stargate Air. And this is a little bit of a risk, because if Oz hits before he gets too many air units on the field, without the mass Zealots to tank, you know, Oz is going to have a stronger ground composition for sure. 1
HP.
Wow, that Zealot is definitely limping along right now. In fact, he just canceled the Fleet Beacon, adding in more gateways, because he realizes his opponent's doing a 2-base timing.
Okay, the longer this goes along, the better position Sage is in. He has 3 bases, economy is better. The more money, the more time, the more units in his composition. Oz knows this, he's going to hit as fast as possible. He has 3 devices that crush force fields from his opponent. 2 Archons and a Colossus. A Time Warp coming down here from Oz, but he's backing up. Biding time, adding more High Templar, adding more Archons.
You know, Sage has a really good position defending this ramp, and if he can get 4 to 6 Void Rays and focus on the Colossi break. Oh, a nice pickoff there.
Takes down Mothership Core. Oz might commit himself. Oh my god, the Time Warp hitting everything on this ramp. Sage with a brilliant concave. Another Time Warp going down. We're seeing a bit of a Venn diagram there. I wonder if units are double slowed. It's 2 Time Warps on top. But anyway, we got Void Rays activating. Prismatic alignment to take down armored units potentially.
I mean, that attack just had no chance by Oz there. His Immortals couldn't really get into action. They were shooting other Immortals. They were shooting Zealots. Sage's composition is based around the Void Rays and Immortals, and Immortals aren't great against either of those, but Oz is so committed. He's going to have to warp in enough Zealots to break through the front line, but then he also needs to deal with the growing Void Ray count.
And again, as time goes along, Sage is happy. Like, his Econ is fantastic. He's got those 3 bases. He knows his opponent doesn't. That Zealot's still holding strong. But here comes Oz, activating the Guardian Shield. 3 Immortals, lots of Zealots here. But again, the Void Rays above need to be targeting down. Well, they're doing a good job there. I think maybe picking the Immortals and the Colossus would be a little bit better. But trying to take down those Archons as fast as possible. I think Sage might just have too much. He's up 120 to 80 supply. With those 3 bases.
It's just a simple more stuff greater than that stuff.
Yes.
And what was so important there is the initial engagement. Oz was behind just by kind of doing a 2-base timing, which in PvP, the 3rd base usually beats the 2-base timing with the advent of the Mothership Core unless they're trying to be too greedy. But it was compounded by the fact you had to go up the ramp. And when you got time up down the ramp, I think he only, like, half his Immortals weren't even fighting for the majority of that engagement.
Bunched up, they're all trying to get to the front.
Like the ramp was about 3 to 4 Immortals wide.
Yeah.
Everything was just smashed together there. And like we can see here, right? There's a couple Immortals in the back that
Archon.
Yeah, they're only able. Yeah, the Archons are stuck. It's just the positioning and the time warps. It's really neutralizes the army so well. And the concave at the top was just brilliant by Sage there. It was, I mean, Oz's units were brave. They tried to get up the ramp, but you know, bravery doesn't actually matter in StarCraft. There's no morale. There's no...
Coming in the next patch.
Yeah.
I talked to David Kim. I can't say any more than that. But guys, Sage taking the 1-0 lead over Oz in this best of 3. Oz must win 2 in a row here, guys. Stay tuned. Game 2 of the winners match coming up.